The sensational murder of Paul Castellano in December 1985 heralded a new era for the Gambino family and a new style of godfather, John Gotti, the dapper Don, the boss of bosses.
Here you had a man who brought all kinds of notoriety to the Gambino family. I mean, Carlo Gambino had to be rolling over in his grave to see what John Gotti did to that family.
John Gotti was a gangster who loved publicity and became a celebrity.
He basically took the city by storm. He was quick with one-liners. He was a handsome, dashing, gentlemanly gangster who held doors open for women reporters who met him at the courtroom door, and you know, swore that he was the boss of his family at home, and that he heard the same things that the press had heard from the FBI, and didn't know anything about what they were talking about, but he was the boss of his wife and kids at home, and he didn't know anything about any Gambino crime family boss.
Mr. Gotti, are you concerned about the trial? Do you think you can get a fair trial?
You're the new head of the family.
Are you the new head?
That's the
Are you
only
new the
family,
head?
no crime
How about the
family?
Gambino family? They're saying you're the chief right now, Mr. Gotti?
In contrast to his predecessor, Gotti represented a break with the past, a new breed of mafia boss.
Until Mr. Castellano was killed, he could have walked down the street in Manhattan and no one knew who he was, really, unless you just happened to recognize his face from a picture or two. But John Gotti was on every magazine. He was in every news clip. His voice was heard by America because they played the tapes and they played them over television at nights. And they heard and heard, consistently heard him. He was, like I said, a media event before. When he went somewhere, they filmed him, and filmed him, and filmed him. So that's what happened.
On 3 separate occasions, John Gotti won acquittals on charges that ranged from racketeering to assault. For 6 years, from 1985 to 1991, Gotti's fame and notoriety would reach unprecedented heights.
How say you with respect to defendant John Gotti, guilty or not guilty?
We find him not guilty.
John Gotti's acquitted in a jury verdict. However, one of the jurors had been bribed in the amount of $60,000, so he had no chance of losing that case. He had a sure winner.
Gotti became a local hero, hosting annual parties on the 4th of July. Yet Gotti bought his freedom by bribing juries and intimidating witnesses. He even had a New York police detective on the payroll. One former Mafia insider explains how they fix their cases.
All you need is one to hold out on the jury. So even if you don't get an acquittal, the worst it could be is a hung jury. You're a winner right there, you know? And if you could get to the witness, today you can't get to it, but if you could, you try and kill the witnesses. Years ago, when they didn't have this Federal Protection Act and all, it was easier to kill the witnesses. Today it's a little harder. Even now with the jurors, it's getting harder because they make them anonymous and they sequester them. They keep them out of sight. The marshals protect them until after the trial. So it's getting more and more difficult to try to get to a jury to fix a case.
When you say get to a jury, what do you mean?
Private jury. You offer them a certain amount of money to come up with a not guilty verdict.
And if they say no?
Well, if they say no, and they better get off the jury, or, well, no, not really. They better stay on the jury. They can't say no. They can't say no. They're in a position where they could save our life. Our lives are on the line. They would have a big problem. It's hard. It's hard for a legitimate person on the jury to get confronted by a mob guy and turn around and say, no, I ain't doing that. Of course, you got to do it. And it ain't the juror's fault. He's scared. He's scared for his family. He's a legitimate guy. He don't know about all these killings and these murders. He ain't involved with all that kind of stuff. It's really, it's hard for a juror to really say no to somebody because they're scared to death.
Because you scared them to death?
Yeah, that's right.
Last night, as Castellano stepped from a limousine in front of a Manhattan steakhouse, he was shot down by 3 men hiding guns.
Although it was widely known that Gotti was behind the killing of his previous boss, Paul Castellano, it would take 6 years to bring the new head of the Gambino family to justice.
Has New York seen a mob murder of this great a magnitude?
Castellano had in fact been betrayed by his closest associate. His underboss, Frank DeCicco, had helped Gotti organize the murder. 3 months later, DeCicco himself was murdered when his car was blown up in Brooklyn. The hand of Gotti was again suspected, but again there was no proof. Now, a ruthless killer and bodybuilder, Sammy the Bull Gravano, became Gotti's most trusted lieutenant. Ironically, Gravano, like DeCicco before him, would eventually betray the Godfather and become a government witness. But until then, they would have to play a waiting game.
Anytime we open a case, we always set 2 objectives we try to accomplish and realize that to work an organized crime case, a lot of our traditional methods don't work, i.e., they don't use the telephones to talk, to engage in legal conversations. You won't find their handwriting in any documents as far as paper trails. You won't find witnesses who will testify. So there's really 2 ways to get a fellow like John Gotti. The first way, of course, through electronic surveillance, to try to put a bug in the place where he's running the affairs of the Gambino family to capture those criminal conversations. Our second goal, which is more difficult, is to try to turn somebody in Gotti's inner circle, a capo who's close to him, his underboss, a concierge, some high-ranking soldier, to get somebody to become a government witness to testify against him. That's the only 2 ways you can get a guy like John Gotti. But also, more importantly, our goal wasn't just to get Gotti. Our goal was to get Gotti and the new hierarchy of the family, to include a fellow named Frank Licasio and Salvatore Gravano, to take out all the Gotti loyalists in one fell swoop.
The Gambino squad's first major breakthrough came from the testimony of a high-level defector to whom Gotti had admitted his role in the murder of Paul Castellano. Today, he is one of those whom Gotti blames for his downfall.
He feels that I'm the cause of all his problems. I went to a grand jury and I told them everything I knew about John and the meetings we had, about him saying he killed Paul Castellano, about him saying he got the okay from the commission. And I would testify about the family, him being the boss, the structure of his family, the things, the favors that my uncle asked of him, some bookmaking involvement, the Gambino problems, and everything that our meetings were about.
Philip Leonetti was the underboss to his uncle, Nicky Scarfo.
Hey, Nicky!
Together, they ran the Bruner family, based in Philadelphia. Their high rank made them privy to the Mafia's innermost secrets, and they were allied to the most powerful families in New York.
He has the backing, not only of the commission, but he's very friendly with the guys in New York. I mean, we had the backing of the Genovese family and other families, too. The Gambino family owed us a favor because we did kill somebody for them. We were very friendly. He was very powerful. They all liked him because he was a killer. A lot of guys liked that, and he wanted to kill more and more people to impress the guys in New York.
Mr. Scarfo, you've been gone for 17 months now. Any comments?
No, I have no comment. Please, let me get by.
What's the first thing you're going to do now, sir?
Nick Scarfo and his nephew Philip Leonetti were a fearsome combination. Operating in Philadelphia and Atlantic City, they ruled with a reign of terror.
Our strength was people feared us because my uncle was he was a stone killer. Everybody knew when they seen one of us. There was no problem with giving up any money. Guys that were in illegal businesses that we shook down, they would give it up, no problem at all. We even had guys coming around to hang out saying, look, I'm going into this business here. I'm going to pay you now for, every week for whatever I make. They were even coming themselves. We didn't even have to go looking for them. They were scared. Everybody was scared to death of my uncle because he had a reputation for killing, because he loved to kill people.
He actually enjoyed it?
Yes.
Scarfo wouldn't hesitate to shoot somebody in a split second. He was a true gangster. He was another Al Capone. I mean, very, very vicious. Feared no one. And this thing came first with him. He believed in this mafia with all his heart and soul.
He always wanted the reputation. He always said, like Paul Muni said in the movie Scarface, he had a machine gun. He says, you got to use this machine gun. You got to kill people and you got to keep on killing them to be the boss. You just can't stop. You got to keep killing.
The shooting was gangland style. Angelo Bruno was shot once in the back.
Men were seen running from Spirito's car last night around 10. He had been shot at least twice in the head. His late model Cadillac was found still in gear and
New York was not the only killing fields for the Mafia.
Allegedly, a lieutenant in Angelo Bruno's organized crime family was lying in a pool of...
The streets of Philadelphia bore witness to the brutality of the Bruno family.
Salvatore Testa had been shot down on the street.
Men like Nick the Crow Caramandi were soldiers in an army of killers.
Arm, 3 in the leg.
We had a hit list of 15, 20 guys to shoot on sight, and night and day we used to go hunt them down. We had teams.
One of their targets was a diminutive mafioso, Harry the Hunchback Riccobini.
Continue to stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you will give before the subcommittee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
The Hunchback and his crew fell out when they refused to pay a greater share of their illegal profits to Scarfo.
Identify himself.
I participated in maybe 15, 20 murders at the time, in that course of time. And after that course of time, from like 82 to 86, when I became a government informer.
Nicky Scarfo and his nephew Philip Leonetti were not just killers. They and the family they controlled derived tremendous power and wealth from their business operations and the rackets they ran, both in Philadelphia and Atlantic City.
How influential and powerful were Nicky Scarfo and Philip Leonetti in Atlantic City?
Very, very powerful. No major construction project was done without their knowledge. No illegal activities such as loan sharking, not so much drug activity. They weren't as heavily involved in drug activity, but loan sharking, gambling, prostitution, they had pieces of all that type of operation.
Well, we had a lot of bars that were under our control. We had businesses in the casinos, maintenance companies, where we were making money. We were making money with Local 54, which was one of the most powerful unions in Atlantic City. We had all the unions tied up in Atlantic City. Teamsters, carpenters, cement, everything.
In the early 1980s, control of Local 54, the union that supplied the workers in the casinos, gave the Mafia a stranglehold in Atlantic City.
There are 40,000 people who work here in the casinos, and the Local 54, the bartenders union, has about 14,000 of those people that are members of the union. They have a health and welfare fund, they have a pension fund, they have a severance fund. Scarfo was then able to, by controlling the bartenders union and controlling the officers of the union, He was then able to have them appoint to office people who were members of organized crime. He was able to have them hire companies that were controlled by organized crime or paying kickbacks and bribes to organized crime to provide services to them.
Well, Frank Gerace, the president of Local 54, he dealt with the casinos, with the owners. He dealt with the contracts. One time, in 1983, he was having a problem with the Playboy. And they didn't want to sign a union contract. They tried to break the union. So I sent somebody to see the owner that I know and told him, if you don't sign it, we're going to kill him. And he signed it.
That was our territory. If any other family wanted to come down here and do something, they had to get permission from Scarfo. But mainly, Atlantic City was ours. We could do whatever we want down there.
We could have stopped everything. We could have shut them down, you know. But if this didn't work, you know, we would try another way, but...
And you had this sort of influence over all the casinos?
Yeah, every casino that dealt with the union, which was all of them, they all had to be unionized. And Frank Gerace made money with them all.
And they knew if they didn't do what you wanted, you could just close them down?
We sure could. That's right.
Leonetti and Scarfo also controlled the local politicians. In the early 80s, they fixed the elections for the mayor of Atlantic City, Mike Matthews.
Mike Matthews was with us. We got all the unions to support Mike Matthews. We had everybody going for him. The casinos, everybody. And he won. And I had this agreement with Mike that if he won, he had to make Joe DePasquale chief of police, which he would listen to whatever we said anyway, because he was with us. We made him mayor. He couldn't have done it by himself.
You're going to see a lot of new construction and some completed construction. I think you'll see another 3 or 4 casinos in town, and I'm very optimistic about the next 4 years.
He was under the protection of our family. He would listen to whatever our family told him to do. He had to do.
And if he didn't?
He would get killed.
Did he know that?
Yes.
And what about the chief of police? What influence do you have over him?
Whatever we needed with him, he would do with us. I was friendly with him.
The main advantage of their political control was the influence it gave them over land development deals. The casino boom had fueled massive speculation in property prices in Atlantic City.
There was a casino project that was proposed over in the inlet section of the city, and the project needed some city-owned land in order for the project to put together a parcel of ground that was big enough for this project. And it was necessary for them to get the city to sell them the land. And Leonetti had a partial interest in this, and in exchange for an agreement with the mayor of the city that they would turn this land over to them or sell it to this particular group, they agreed to offer the mayor either cash or a percentage interest in the company itself. And unfortunately for the mayor, one of the people that they were dealing with was an undercover DEA agent, and they didn't know that, and the mayor accepted money from them, and he went to jail.
But they bought the mayor of Atlantic City?
Yes, they bought the mayor of Atlantic City.
They also bought a white Rolls-Royce and a luxury hideaway in Florida where they flaunted their wealth. But unknown to them, they were secretly accompanied by FBI agents who were beginning to build up a powerful case against the entire family in the mid-1980s.
Well, that's our family. They're the guys that belong to our family, and we would go down there on vacation. Well, my uncle bought a nice house down there and a nice boat. And we had the boat docked behind the house, and he would invite everybody down, and we would enjoy ourselves down there. It was like relaxation time.
Pretty unusual to have an entire Mafia family on a boat.
Yeah, I know. That's how the jury's seen it too. I mean, it really buried us, all them pictures of everybody together. It really showed that we were a family, you know, all together like that.
Excuse us. Despite the appearance of a close family, Scarfo was paranoid and psychotic, constantly sensing betrayal and treachery. He even doubted the loyalty of one of Leonetti's best friends, Salvi Testa. He ordered his execution.
So they gave me and my partner the hit on Testa. Now, Testa felt some bad vibes because he knew what he did wasn't right, and it was pretty hard to get him because we wanted to shoot him in the store where we hung at. It was pretty hard to go lay anywhere because if he saw us, he would have known. He couldn't figure out who was going to do it. So we tried for 6 or 7 months to try to get him. We just couldn't get him.
How did you feel then, knowing that one of your best friends was going to be killed?
I felt sick about it. I felt sick. And I hated, he would hang around with me every day. He would come to the office. It was during the summer while they were planning to kill him, you know. He got killed in September of '84, but during this time, every day he's at the office and I'm looking at him. And I was getting sick, and I was with him all the time. And we went out to dinner one time, and he changed. She said, "Phil, let me sit over there," because he didn't want his back to the door. So I got up. All right. I said, "Look, Sal," I said, "if something's going to happen, if I see somebody coming, ain't going to tell you somebody's going to come?" He says, "I know, Phil, but I'm so crazy right now. I don't know how I'm thinking, you know." He was suspicious. He felt like he was going to get killed, but then he thought maybe I won't let nothing happen to him because I could talk to my uncle. He was being really careful.
So anyway, this fella came in the store. He shook his hand. He got up and shook his hand. As soon as he turned around, the fella grabbed the gun, shot him in the head. He went down and shot him again. That night, me and my partner and another, he was a proposed member at the time, helped take the body out. This was like 9 o'clock at night, and we took it like 30 miles and dumped it in Jersey.
Testa's body was found here in the aerial section of Gloucester Township. The body was easily visible from the road, apparently dumped here hastily late last night.
Why couldn't you just say to him, "Look, you can't do this"?
Because he would have killed me, siding with Salvi. If I would have told Salvi to run away, he would have killed Joey Punchatore and his whole family, thinking that Joey Punchatore told him. He would never expect me to do it. You know, he would trust me too much.
But some of these people must have been your friends.
Oh, some of them. Salvi Testa I loved. I spent almost 2 years with him night and day. And I knew, you know, his loyalty to this thing. And I used to get nightmares over him. I mean, I used to wake up screaming because I just loved the guy. I didn't want to see him die. So many times I wanted to tell him, "Why don't you leave town?" But I couldn't. Every day I was trying to kill him.
The only people that Nicky Scarfo thought he could really trust were his own blood relatives. In the winter of 1986, he sought permission from the Commission, the Mafia's secret government in New York, to make his nephew Philip the underboss of the family. New York gave their approval.
Philip was the #2 man in the family. He was the underboss of the family. And any time that anybody had a problem with the labor union, they would approach Philip, and Philip would approach one of the people that he had control over in the labor movement. And if he had a problem with a laborers union or a Teamsters union or cement masons or iron workers official, he would just call them and tell them, "This is our project, keep your people away from it. We're going to do whatever we want to do there." And you guys stay away, and that's exactly what would happen. And so anytime that the mob wanted to do anything in Atlantic City, they would approach Leonetti. Leonetti would give them their approval, and then he would tell the union officials, stay away.
People have said they were very afraid of you.
Well, if they did something wrong to our family, or if they did something wrong to me at that time, yeah, I guess they would be very afraid.
Why?
They should be, because there's a possibility they could be killed, you know, or whatever they did. Of course, we weren't playing games. Everybody, it's a serious thing. And whoever did something wrong with us, especially with my uncle, I mean, got killed. That's what we did. That's what we knew how to do, kill people.
But the killing would eventually get to Leonetti. Even he couldn't stomach the cold-blooded murder of Salvi Testa, his childhood friend. He began to question his blind loyalty to his uncle and his oath of allegiance to the Mafia. Eventually, Philip Leonetti, the underboss of the family, would become one of the highest-ranking defectors ever to betray La Cosa Nostra. In the spring of 1986, a secret and high-level Mafia summit was held in New York City. John Gotti, the new head of the Gambino family, and his right-hand man, Sammy the Bull Gravano, had invited the leaders of the Philadelphia Mafia to New York to explain the new order, why Castellano had to be killed, and how the Mafia would now be run.
Well, Sammy introduced us to John. You know, he introduced my uncle as the boss of the family, and John as the boss of their family. He introduced me to him. And he told my uncle, said, look, Nick, he says, before we even get started, I want you to know, I did everything the right way, you know. I killed Paul with the okay of the commission, and I did it all. I followed the rules on everything. My uncle said, oh, I know that, John, you know. But we still double-checked it afterwards.
Leonetti's meeting with Gotti would prove to be a crucial piece of evidence for the FBI, but so too would the fruits of a surveillance operation which in the late 1980s had pinpointed a promising location for a bug in the heart of Little Italy.
Our goal was to find the one place where Gotti was conducting business to run his Gambino family. Sometimes they use a safe house, sometimes they might use a hotel, sometimes they'll do it over meetings and restaurants for dinners and stuff. So for a number of months, we're trying to find that one location where Gotti was holding court. And every indication we had, the result of all our work, was that he's meeting on a regular basis at a social club called the Ravenite, located at 247 Mulberry Street, New York, New York.
The FBI succeeded in placing secret microphones in the Ravenite Club. They also bugged an apartment on the second floor where Gotti was conducting his most secret meetings.
Once we got the mic installed, then it was more like a war of nerves, because you always wonder whether the tech guys got discovered or compromised. You always think the worst thoughts. So for a number of days, nobody went up to the apartment. We hear John go in the club. We hear him go in the hallway. We didn't go upstairs. You always think maybe something happened, maybe discovered the mic, or we were compromised. But on the night of November 30, 1989, we heard the back door of the club open. We heard him walk through the hallway on our second mic. We heard him walk up the steps. We could hear the apartment door open, and we could hear the voice of John Gotti inside the apartment.
Not in the mood for toys or games or kids or type. I'm not in the mood for clans. I'm not in the mood for gangs. I'm not in the mood for none of that stuff there. This is going to be a Cosa Nostra till I die. Be it an hour from now, be it tonight, or 100 years from now when I'm in jail. It's going to be a Cosa Nostra. They're going to be, a bunch of your friends are going to be friends of ours, a bunch of the same friends will be friends of ours.
We were elated when we heard first reports how well it was working. Of course, the next day, we listened to the tapes here in our office, and we heard how clear they were, and the clarity was just incredible. There was talking freely. They were talking criminal matters. And then we knew that we were going to get John Gotti, just on that one conversation.
It's the liaison that is getting whacked because that don't belong to us. That's their bucket full. And he's got to get whacked because he's getting for the same reason that Jelly Belly's getting. If you want to challenge the administration, you will meet the challenge. And you're going to, motherfucker. Guilty.
They were great. They consisted of the administration talking about people who had been killed and why they had been killed, people who were going to be killed and why they had to be killed, their gambling operations, their labor racketeering, their discussions about who was going to become a made member and whether the people who were proposed to become made members had fulfilled the requirement of having killed somebody. It was very much sort of opening the window into the administration of the Gambino family. There was no small talk up there, no idle chit-chat. They went up there to be private as an administration to run the family. And those are the tapes that were the heart of our prosecution.
A bug in the chandelier was recording John Gotti's innermost secrets.
I'll put the others right there. All right? So you figure that way? That's all right. All right, John, we all agree?
Meanwhile, the FBI had moved against the leaders of the Mafia in Philadelphia. Scarfo and Leonetti had been betrayed by some of their own soldiers and were facing prison for the rest of their lives.
Would the jury believe that Scarfo and his 8 friends conspired, then murdered former gang member Salvatore Testa back in 1984? 2 former members of that gang, Thomas Del Giorno and Nicholas Caramondi, said they did.
They convicted everybody of everything. And I was sentenced to 45 years. In the meantime, during the trial, though, my cousin Mark, who was real friendly with my son, my uncle's son, he was 17 years old at the time, hung himself. He destroyed a young life, and I was worried about my son because that was his best friend. My kid, when this happened, he went like in shock. He couldn't believe it. My kid's going to school. He's doing very bad in school. I got a teacher in the civics class is teaching him about organized crime in high school. The boss, Nick Scarfo, the underboss, Philip Leonetti. His name's Philip Leonetti. I mean, the kid don't have a shot. I said, what am I doing here?
Phil was a killer, a real killer. You look in his eyes, you can see he's a killer. But a stronger individual. Again, young, no, didn't really go through the rituals, didn't understand the ways. And hey, he's a young man. He wasn't going to spend all those years in jail. He had to cut a deal, and he cut a deal, and he got out.
Before I was sentenced, I don't know how I did. I got enough strength. I called the FBI because it was hard. Because I was thinking about it, I didn't know what to do. I finally called them before I was sentenced, and I got Jim Morrow on the phone.
I was called to the telephone. The voice on the other end said, do you know who this is? I said, no. He said, you're supposed to be an expert identifying voices. I said, well, I don't know your voice.
I said, I thought you were a voice expert. You recognize all these voices on tape in court. He said, who is this? I said, this is Philip Leonetti.
This is Philip Leonetti, and I want to talk to you. I said, when and where? He said, now. I told him that I would have to tell the judge that I was going to go talk to him, and that based on my experience, I thought that the judge would tell his lawyer.
I said, well, if you do that, then everybody's going to know that I'm going to cooperate. I says, I can't take a chance like that. He said, well, let's wait till after your sentence, and then I won't have to notify him. I said, okay.
So he agreed to wait. He came in 7 to 8 days later and was sentenced. He received a 45-year sentence. And within, I would say, 5 minutes of receiving that sentence, a U.S. Marshal turned him over to my custody. We brought him back to this office and began to talk to him.
And I said, look, I'm concerned about myself. I'm concerned mostly about my son. I want my family out of this area. And I want my son to have a shot in life. I mean, because right now he has no shot. He's talking about hanging with Nicky, his cousin Nicky, and helping me out that way. I said, he's under the wrong impression. I want him really to focus himself on schoolwork and, you know, what could you do? What could you do for that, you know, for me that way?
He said that his main concern was for his son, that his son's life wouldn't be squandered the way he had squandered his own. He told us about the impact that his cousin Mark's suicide attempt had had on him, that he had been contemplating cooperating since about that time and just couldn't find a way to do it. He was in the same jail with his uncle. His uncle was his constant companion in jail.
He said, look, we'll move your family. Can't promise you anything because we don't know anything what we could do for you. But we'll move your family, your son, to a different area. I said, all right, not right now. I didn't even talk to my family yet. I don't know if they're going to accept this or what's going to happen. It took me time just to talk to my family about this. Little by little, as they came to see me, I mentioned it to my mother. She said, do it, do it, do it. Which I was surprised, you know. I didn't know how she would react.
Eventually, we made an agreement. Philip agreed to cooperate. The only promises that were made to him is that we would keep him alive while he was in jail and make the extent and value of his cooperation known to the judge if he should ask for a reduction, and that we would move and give new identities to his mother, his girlfriend, and his son. There were no promises at all made to him about what his sentence might be.
So we left me, my son, my mother, and my girl. And, you know, they brought me to a safer prison to stay at. They moved somewhere else. My son got settled in school. And right now, he's in a university in a pre-med course. It's unbelievable.
The judge was so impressed with his cooperation that his sentence for murder and racketeering was reduced from 45 years to 5. Under the federal witness protection program, Leonetti is now free with a new identity.
Well, the significance of his defection, having the underboss of a commissioned family cooperate was really unprecedented. I thought there would be tremendous opportunities, not so much within our own family here, because we had been pretty successful, but in other LCN families. And indeed, that turned out to be the case. Philip has been a very, very successful witness. He's testified in the southern and eastern districts of New York, in Boston, Springfield, Massachusetts, Hartford, Connecticut, Pittsburgh, in cases involving other Cosa Nostra families. So I was pretty excited about it.
In New York, the FBI were closing the net on the Gambino family. They now had Leonetti's testimony, and the Ravenite tapes were providing damning evidence of their power and wealth.
Money is received from the garbage club. Money is received from the control of the piers, control of the International Longshoresmen Association. The proof at trial showed from John Gotti's own mouth that he would get $3,000 from each captain for John Gotti's birthday. 21 captains, so he would get $63,000 in cash on his birthday. He would get similar amounts, if not more, from each captain as a Christmas present. The family received $2 per cubic yard for every yard of concrete poured in New York City. and has received that for many years because of an understanding among the families that that's the Gambino family interest. He told Frank Licasio on tape, John Gotti did, that he received $24,000 a week just from the construction interest controlled by Gravano. That's $1.2 million in cash each year to the boss just from construction.
That's something that's bothering me, Sammy. I don't want to start like a chin and people with a bad precedent. So I'm asking you, how do you feel? You want to stay with Squidly here? Or you want me to make you official underboss, acting boss? How do you feel? What makes you feel better? Think about it.
The tapes even recorded Gotti making plans to keep the family going should he end up in jail. But the FBI arrested both Gotti and his anointed successor, Sammy Gravano.
Good evening, Mr. Gotti. Are you surprised? Pretty good. You know they're going to try and keep you in jail. They say you're a danger while you're out. What's your reaction to that?
In a carefully planned operation, the FBI raided the Ravenite headquarters of the King of Little Italy. They also arrested Sammy the Bull Gravano, depriving him of the chance to run the family while Gotti was in jail. As ever, the media was on hand to record what would be Gotti's last public appearance.
We arrested Gotti, Sammy, and Licasio. They were all sitting around John's table having coffee when we walked in.
Were they surprised?
They were shocked. They were totally shocked by this whole thing. A few days after the arrest, we held a detention hearing for Gotti, Gravano, Licasio in the Eastern District. And during this hearing, we played certain evidence for the judge. We played some of our key tapes to prove the existence of the conspiracy, the existence of the enterprise, prove the existence of our murders that were committed. And one of the tapes we played was our 12-12-89 conversation between John Gotti and Frank Licasio. Sammy wasn't there. And during this conversation, John Gotti was bad-mouthing Sammy from start to finish. So Sammy heard for the first time, sitting next to John, his boss bad-mouth his very loyal underboss. And following the conversation, they went back to the MCC, and John braced up, they went back to the MCC, and Sammy braced up John and said, "Look, John, what were you meaning by all this?" And John said, "Look, I was just blowing steam, Sammy. I was just hot at the time. I didn't mean what I said." Well, in the La Cosa Nostra, and especially the Sicilians and Italians, what John said was irrevocable. And Sammy knew then in his heart that if he ever got to jail, he had to kill John, his brother, and his son, all the Gottis, or John in turn would kill Sammy and his whole crew. They can never, ever go back to the way it was.
He told you, didn't he tell you I treated him in jail? Everything that any of these guys do is what this is. When they got in them and how they got in them. I want to know when and how they got in them. These are all businesses that nobody had a fucking year ago, Frank. I know multiple guys. My son will open all the companies up. My brother said, my son was there. Nobody opened all the companies up. On themselves. Joe Piney and Sandy can make my brother Pete involved with that fucking asshole who was living in the time he's going to jail. Tell me something that one of my family got that they never had before. I'll make it fuck me in the ass. But that ain't going to be. When I came to you, though,
So based on these factors, John and Sammy had a falling out. And for a few months, they actually didn't talk to each other. The ironic thing is that John never once said to Sammy, his close lieutenant, "You know, Sammy, what's wrong with you? Something bothering you?" Like you would to somebody who worked for you. John is too absorbed in his own self and his own interest to notice that his close lieutenant wasn't talking to him. So as a result of the above, Sammy reached out to the FBI in October of 1991. And on the night of November 8, 1991, we got a court order to retrieve him from the MCC. And that night, we pulled him out about 1 o'clock in the morning, took him to a safe house. We got an initial debriefing, and then we took him off out of the area where we maintained him until his testimony at the trial.
Following in the footsteps of Philip Leonetti, another high-level mafia figure would now testify against Gotti. It was a devastating blow for the Godfather and a great victory for law enforcement.
In Sammy's words, he said, if John Gotti's the most important mobster in America, I'm his underboss, and I'm the second most important mobster in America. So by Sammy's own admission, and of course we know this, that he's the second highest ranking Mafia, La Cosa Nostra member in America to come with the government.
With Gravano's testimony, Gotti didn't stand a chance. He was finally convicted in the spring of 1992 and is currently serving a life sentence in a maximum security prison. Yet even a prison cell has not finally put an end to the criminal career of the dapper Don.
Is John Gotti still running the family from jail?
That's hard to say. At this point, there is no indication that anyone else is running the family. He does have meetings in jail. He is not, at this point, the former boss. He is still the official boss of the family. And we can only assume, pretty confidently, that he's running the show from his jail cell.
Even inside America's maximum security prison, the government is still monitoring the words of the Godfather.
John Gotti still runs the family from prison in Marion, Illinois.
Can't you stop him? I thought you'd locked him up.
He's allowed to have visitors. His son visits him. His brother Peter's a capo visit him. He gets visits from attorneys.
Although confined to a cell 23 hours a day, Gotti is permitted 5 visits a month. But even as he attempts to cling on to power, so his influence within the family is now beginning to wane. In time, Gotti himself will be succeeded by a new godfather.
He's still running the family, but day by day he's losing control. A lot of people are defying his orders. They don't listen to him anymore. A lot of them know he's never going to come back from jail, so his control is slipping day by day.
With the passing of time, the tradition of secrecy and the vow of silence are no longer the unshakable beliefs of a secret society. The values which once made the Mafia so powerful are now slowly fading away.
It isn't what it used to be. I mean, no one claims that anybody's wiped out organized crime, but the face of organized crime has changed dramatically because of these defections. And whatever face it has in the years to come, it's not going to be what it used to be.
The annual festival of San Gennaro. Little Italy celebrates the traditions of the old country. The hope for the FBI is that the Mafia will come to be seen as nothing more than a relic of a dying culture, and that John Gotti will be remembered as the last king of Little Italy.
In the war against the Mafia, where do you think you stand now?
We've been fairly successful, but there's a lot of work to do, and we're a long ways away from saying, yeah, we neutralized these families.
One former associate of the Gambino family told us that you can never put the Gambino family out of business. It would be like trying to put General Motors out of business.
We will never, in my lifetime, put the Gambino family out of business. Our mission is to try to neutralize it where it's no longer effective or has any impact here on the people of New York.
It's supposed to be underground. It came out from under the ground and thought it was maybe Hollywood. Everybody thought they were in Hollywood and were stars. The newspapers, Maybe everybody's mentality, oh, this is great, I'm in the newspaper, I got a good suit on, cover of Time magazine. Maybe it went to everybody's head. And the power went to everybody's head. But it's not going to be that way for long once the government gets done with everybody. Because I think they'll have more and more people cooperating. Definitely.